Hey everybody, welcome to Sid's Little Corner of the Internet. We've got another Transformers review coming your way. This time around we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Legacy Deluxe-class Autobot Arcee. So as we always do, let's bring that packaging in and take a look. We'll start right up here at the top, and you have Transformers Legacy. Coming down to the front, there's your big empty hole. And there you have some nice Arcee alt mode artwork. She is the Prime Universe Arcee. Transformers Legacy down there, Deluxe Class down there, Transformers over here. On the side, you got some artwork. On the back, you have some product shots. She is Arcee. There's the bot mode, transforms in 20 steps to the alt mode. And you have parents. Over here, you have your QR code if you want to look up those stats. And then down here, you have all your warnings, and you have the sad baby. Don't be sad, baby. Over here on the side, a little bit more artwork. Looks pretty good. And down here on the bottom, you have manufacturing information. So that will do it for the packaging. Let's go ahead and see what came inside that box. Behold, laid out here before you is everything that came inside that box. And we'll start right here with your little sheet of warnings. And you also get your instruction booklet. And that leaves you with everything that you see here. So I guess technically speaking, she comes with 2 accessories, because I'm not entirely sure if I would count this as an accessory, but we'll talk about that momentarily. But let's go ahead and we'll bring her blades in first and take a look at those. So these are identical to each other. They're perfectly symmetrical, so we're real quickly going to demonstrate a couple things you can do. So you can plug them in together like that. You could plug them in like that. You could plug them in like that. Whatever you want to do, whatever your heart desires, enjoy. But now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's just take a look at one of them. Look at those details. And it is this translucent blue plastic that we've seen on a few of the other figures so far in this Legacy line. Looks good. I like it. Okay amount of sculpt work in there. Nothing too crazy, but I do very much like this blue translucent plastic, so that works for me. And as far as quality and feel goes, everything's pretty good. I don't have any issues with these at all. They fit together really well. There's no warping, no distortion, no sculpt work issues at all. Now, we'll move on over to this. So this is her other gun, frisbee, launching, I don't know, spinny blade, murder weapon. I don't know what you want to call it. I mean, it really is just her front wheel. So you've got good detail there, and the front wheel, it just collapses together like that, and then, whoa, look at that, you've got a wheel. It does spin very nicely for the most part. And yeah, I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to use this as a melee weapon, if I'm going to use this as some type of a launcher, but it looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and look at those details. You've got that nice metallic blue paint in there, and then you've got some sculpt work in there, good amount of detail. Both of those sides are the exact same thing. And then you have her fender, which can be whatever, I don't know, you can almost visualize if she's holding it and these are spinning and she's launching energy weapons and it's ramping up. I don't know, whatever you want to do. It's totally up to you. Doesn't hurt my feelings. But there you go. Yeah. So as far as accessories go, they're pretty good. They're a little puzzling. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do with them, but I'll figure it out eventually. And you can do a few cool things. So, you know, if you put these together, you can make a shield out of them. If you keep them separate in bot mode, you can use them as blades. So, I don't know. I guess it just takes some imagination. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and bring Arcee in and take a look at her details. Here she is. This is the bot we've all been waiting to see. This is the Transformers Legacy Prime Universe Deluxe Class Arcee. So let's bring her in and take a look. And yeah, I'm going to, right off the bat, I'm going to say I really like this head. I like the face sculpt. I like the fact that they have included light piping here. So under the right light, her little blue eyes light up and she looks alive. And I really like these pink accents that they've given her here. So kind of a little bit of a callback to that pink Arcee that we know and love. So I think, yeah, that head is a pleasant surprise for this figure. I do enjoy that. Coming down to the chest, you've got some nice paint applications on there, that silver and then the Autobot symbol. And they're just enough sculpted in detail here. It's not too busy. It's not distracting. It just looks good. So yeah, I've got no issues whatsoever with that chest. And coming down to the abs, you've got those silver abs. They look good. And then you got the crotch piece right there, which looks all right. And then those legs, yeah, there's just not a lot going on. Those upper thighs, they're just black plastic. But you do have the nice filled in areas there. You do have a little bit of a hollow area down below. Not enough to notice, especially when it's done in black. It's not that bad at all. And then she's got those big silver kneecaps, so she can hit some Decepticons in the face with those. And then you have these accents down here that are kind of the purple, pink, metallic, which I think offset really well with the rest of the colors, and it matches her face. So really well done there. And then you've got some sculpt work, and then you can see them on the inside as well. A little bit of more gray right there. And then coming down, just plain feet. I don't know. They don't do anything for me. They're just plain feet. They're kind of skinny, but she does have some nice big heels. That helps with the posing. And then coming over here to the side of the leg, you've got a big old wheel in the way. But just for fun, let's move that out of the way so you can see this. That's all pretty. Now you'll see this in the motorcycle mode, but it's always nice to see it here as well. But even then, you do have, looks like a little bit of a spring kind of sculpted in there. Looks nice. And then you've got those plain upper thighs. And coming here to the chest area, no hollow areas to speak of, which is nice. Taking a look up under the arms. No major hollow areas. You've got a little bit going on right here, but that's not bad at all. And then this all looks good here. And making our way up to the arms. That's just part of a motorcycle seat right there, but hey, it doesn't look bad at all. It really doesn't. And then coming up to those skinny little arms, she's got those big old shoulders right there. And coming around to the back. So I'll give you a view of her from the back right there. She really doesn't fall apart. There's just a little bit of a kibble with this backpack, but I think that's something that we're kind of used to with Arcee figures at this point, is she's just not Arcee if she doesn't have a backpack. But it's really not that bad. The rest of it really isn't, and I can live with this, what they've done back here. So let's go ahead and take a look. That's a whole lot of front motorcycle there. And then up underneath, you've got, not much of a mess. I'm okay with this, actually. And then just no sculpt work. It's just kind of plain back here. But it works for me. And then I do enjoy the transformation with the legs. It may be overly complex, more so than what they needed to do for this figure, but I do enjoy it, and I do like the way this all comes together. So they're hollow in the back, but they fill this in so nicely, and I just really like the way this looks back here. And frankly, I like the backs of the feet more than I like the fronts. So that's it for her details. I think for the most part she looks pretty good. So what we'll do now is we'll go ahead and we'll jump into that articulation. And we'll start back up here at the head with the articulation. So you have this head on a ball joint, but it's pretty stiff on mine. But you get a pretty good range of movement. You can go down that far. You can go up that far. And you can get just the tiniest bit of those sideways quizzical looks. And then you can take that head around all the way if you want to do so, and you can give her one of those because that looks natural. All right, and then coming over here to these shoulders, the shoulders will come straight up that far, and then you can go all the way around with them if you choose to do so. You do have bicep rotation, so you can take that all the way around, and at the elbow, you get right at 90 degrees of bend. Down here at the wrists, you do get wrist rotation if you want to use it. So that's helpful to have. Now, coming down here to this waist, this is kind of a problem area for me, and I'm sure for many others for Arcee. I don't like the way the waist is transformed and designed, and this is friction holding a lot of this in right here. You do get a little bit of waist rotation, but this is one of those cases if you want to be careful, because if you're not, then you're going to pop her loose, and then she's just going to be all floppy, and she's going to be doing backflips on you. So you get a little bit of waist rotation, not a lot, but it is enough, and she holds it. So at least it's there. It's better than nothing. But I'm not real happy with the way she was designed as far as that goes. I would have liked to have seen them do a better way there. But as it stands right now, when you have her properly transformed, she will hold herself just fine. All right. Now, coming down here to the legs, you can get a full split out of her. You're not going to get a Van Damme, but you are going to get a full split out of this figure, so plenty of range of motion as far as the splits go. And kicking forward, you're really just limited by hitting that geometry there. You can take it further if you choose to do so. And then going backwards, it's the same thing. So you are really only limited by the geometry, so she can do a back kick quite far. And then you have thigh rotation. She'll come out that far, and she'll go in that far for the thigh rotation before she starts hitting her own geometry up here. And then at the knees, so I'm actually going to show it from the back on the knees, just simply because I want you to see what happens back here. So you can get a 90-degree knee bend out of her, maybe just under. But as you start bringing that back down, you have a tendency for this to come loose. So it's not bad, it's not annoying. It's just something to be aware of, that when you bend her knees, you want to make sure that you're grabbing the entire leg. You don't want to just grab right here and try to do a bend, because you're going to do that. So do this and get your 90 and then bring it back down and just hold your thumb and your forefinger in the right place. All right, so coming down to the feet, you do get ankle tilt, pretty decent amount. And then you have the heel-toe action back here. Your heels are fixed in place, but your toes you can move basically all the way because they are transformation. And then you can bring them up that far. So let me get this out of the way so you can have a little bit more clarity. And there are some notched stops right here. So kind of some preset areas where you can stop those toes. And she has a tendency to work best, I've noticed, or at least my copy, when you have the feet about like that. So these are just about even at that point, and then you can get some nice posing out of her that way. So yeah, I mean, I think articulation overall is pretty good. It's everything that you would want in a figure. Maybe a little bit more as far as those knee bends go. Would have been nice to get her into some nice poses, but I think that for a deluxe class figure, she's pretty well articulated. So what we'll do now is we will go ahead and we'll get her all accessorized. She's got a couple different things you can do with the accessories, and we'll review those, and we'll throw some blast effects on her and have a little bit of fun that way. So here she is in what I'm going to call configuration 1, just to give you an idea of some of the things that you can do with those accessories. And of course, I loaded her up with those blast effects as well. So in this configuration, what I've done is I have her front wheel blades of death thing over here in her hand, firing it as maybe some kind of a weapon. I'm guessing there. I think Hasbro really missed the mark here without having any blast effect compatibility on this. I think that really would have taken it up a notch, at least for me. As you may know by now, I'm a proponent of blast effect compatibility. Give me some 5mm ports, I will use them. So yeah, I mean, if with a vivid imagination, she's firing something. Maybe it's one of those automatic baseball pitching machines. Maybe she's firing baseballs at her enemies. Either way, you take a 100-mile-an-hour baseball to the face, you're going to feel it. So it might be effective. Who knows? And then over here, I have her two blades together forming a shield, and it's just super energized. So there's blue energy flames flying off of it. And then for the rest of the effects ports, as you can see, she does have ports on the bottoms of her feet, so you can get some rocket bot mode, which is pretty sweet. And then on the insides of her wings, quote unquote, she has 5mm ports as well, so you can take advantage of those. And then she does have the ports on her forearms. This port is being used for the shield. The other port, I threw a blast effect in there to kind of give you an idea of what you can do. So this is configuration 1. Let's go ahead and jump into configuration 2 for those accessories. And here we see her in what I'm calling configuration number 2, and I think that this may be my preferred configuration. So you can take that front wheel, and she actually has a 5mm port back here on her back just below her head. You can plug the wheel in right there, and I don't know what it is about this look, but I do prefer it. It gives her a little bit more of a backpack, and it does open it up a little bit more, and I guess gives her some more kibble. But from this view right here, with those wheels on either side, I think it looks really good. And then I've taken the shield or the blades, split them in two, and then put them in her forearms here. And you can have those right there on her forearms, and she's using them as those traditional Arcee type of melee weapons that we've seen her use in the past. So just a couple of other ideas of what you can do here. And of course, you're not relegated to this. You can put those blades, right here on the wings if you want to do that. The other option that you have as well, and I'm not going to bother displaying it because it's just simply telling you about it, is if you don't want to use these wheels at all, then you can just plug them back in where they belong. So you can fold this wheel back up, and there's a port right up underneath here that plugs in just like you would do for the vehicle mode anyway, and you could just leave that wheel dangling down there behind. You could actually lift this up a little bit more, a few more degrees, and then have the wheel down and even turn the wheel so it's flat against her back to kind of compact all that up if you don't want to use the wheel at all. But I think on the shelf, this right here is my favorite look. This is probably how I'm going to have her displayed. So now we'll get her in her alt mode and take a look at her details there. Here is Transformers Legacy Arcee in her alt mode, so let's go ahead and bring her in and take a look at those details. We'll start right up front with that nice windscreen and those headlights. I do like the headlights and the windscreen on her. They look really good. And looking down at that tire, that wheel, you've got some nice details there for the shocks. Big old disc brake on there. Little painted turn signals, which is nice. And coming around here to the side, the body looks pretty good. I do like the blue that they picked for the paint here. And we'll just take a little peek up under here, and you can see that there is a gauge cluster. There's no details on the gauge cluster, but at least it's there. And then you've got some nice detailing on those handles as well. And then you've got your mirrors. It would have been cool if they would have painted those silver or something, but even as they stand, they're not bad. And at least they're not the same clear plastic as you have for the windscreen. So that's pretty good. And coming around to the side, they do a pretty good job with this mode hiding the robot, other than the hands, which are sticking out in the back here. But for the most part, the bot disappears unless you really, really know what you're looking for. But I think she does a pretty good job of passing as a motorcycle, as a nice crotch rocket. Coming down here, taking a look, you've got that exhaust, and you've got a little bit of that rear brake there as well. Nothing's decked out here. This is all just molded gray plastic, but it doesn't look that bad, really. I do like this racing stripe they put on the tire here on the sidewall. That's pretty cool. And then, of course, there's those hands and those arms as we've seen. Here she is from the back top view. Everything comes together pretty good there. I'm still not entirely convinced about this piece just kind of hanging out right there. But it's not the worst thing I've ever seen. And there she is from the back. Coming over to this side, it's everything we've already seen on the other side, except for that kickstand. So you do have your kickstand that you can maneuver around at different angles if you choose. But yeah, not too bad looking, really. Oh, and I forgot to mention that there is a gas filler cap detailed out in there. So it looks pretty good. So yeah, I mean, that's it. That's her from the side. There she is from the top. And here she is from the bottom. Well, hello. How are you? Oh, great. Good to know. All right. So that's it. Now what we'll do is we'll throw some blast effects on there and bring her weapons in, and you guys can see her all accessorized up. Well, as you can see, although she doesn't have a lot of the 5mm ports available in her alt mode, the ones that she does have, you can do a lot of really cool things with. And you do get the added bonus that exhaust tip is effects compatible. So yeah, there you go. That alone almost makes it worth it for me. But you do have the ability to do some other things here. So what I've done is I've taken her weapon, whatever you want to call it, those blades, and I've, of course, I have them split in two, and I've put them in different ports just to give you a different idea of what you can do. So typically you would either have them down here on this port, or you would have them up here, more often than not together, not separately like I have here, but I'm just using it as an example. So yeah, you can put them down there, you can put them up on the seat area, and then of course you've got the effects ports on the side that you can use otherwise, and her blades themselves have effects ports. So you can just have all kinds of fun with her in this mode with those different effects ports, and just kind of use your imagination and have a good time. But yeah, I think this works. Particularly, thank you to whoever made sure that the exhaust tip was effects compatible, because this is what we needed. We needed an Arcee crotch rocket that has the ability to spew flaming exhaust out of her exhaust pipe. That just that wins me over. So there you go with that. Now what we'll do is we'll jump into the alt mode comparisons and check her out in this mode against some other vehicles. For that first alt mode comparison, we're just going to go ahead and start with the single most relevant comparison we have, and that is Arcee from Transformers Prime. So on the left over here, this of course is the Transformers Legacy Prime Universe Arcee. This is the Transformers Prime Arcee from the show. So you can see where the inspiration was drawn from, but definitely some changes there. But both of these look really good in their bike mode. Moving along to our next comparison, this is the Studio Series number 52 Arcee. So this is the one that came in the 3-pack with Chromia and Alita 1 from the Bayverse films. And if it looks like my Arcee is missing something, you're correct. She came in the box with parts missing. So unfortunately, this is all of her that I have, and that's kind of a bummer, but yeah, it is what it is. Moving right along to our next comparison, this is Arcee as we saw her from the Transformers War for Cybertron universe. So completely interchangeable. It could be the Earthrise Arcee, it could be the Kingdom Arcee. They're exactly the same thing, but there you go. And for our final individual alt mode comparison, here we see the Legacy Arcee next to the Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar. And for our final alt mode comparison, here we see Arcee with all of her Legacy wave mates, so you can kind of get an idea of how she scales up and how she looks in comparison to these other figures here. Now, just a quick note, none of the core class Legacy wave is in this. I'm just looking at Deluxe, Voyager, and Leader class. That'll do it for the alt mode comparisons. Let's go ahead and get her into her bot mode and do some comparisons there. So for our first bot mode comparison, I figured that we would start with what I consider at least to be the most relevant. So on the left, of course, is that Legacy Deluxe-class Prime Universe Arcee that we've been looking at. And on the right is the Transformers Prime Arcee figure that we got when that show was on the air. So you can see the similarities and differences between the two. Speaking of Transformers Prime Arcees, our next comparison is the Transformers Red Robot Enhanced Design Transformers Prime Arcee. And the Red, for those of you who aren't familiar, they're just non-transformable action figures essentially that are articulated and come with a bunch of accessories. So this is the closest we have to cartoon accurate Transformers Prime Arcee, and so you can kind of see the similarities and differences between those two. Moving on to our next comparison, here you see the Legacy Arcee on the left, and on the right is the Transformers Studio Series 52 Arcee. This was the Arcee that came in the 3-pack with Chromia and Alita 1 from the Bayverse films. Representing the Transformers War for Cybertron line, this is the Earthrise or Kingdom, take your pick, Deluxe-class Arcee. And for our final individual comparison, here we see the Legacy Arcee on the left, and on the right is the Studio Series 86 Wreck-Gar. So you can see the Voyager class Wreck-Gar next to the Deluxe class Arcee. And for our final bot mode comparison, here you can see Arcee with all of her wave mates. Now this doesn't take into account the core class, so this is just the Deluxe class, Voyager class, and Leader class. But this is the entirety of Wave 1 of the Transformers Legacy line. So you can see how she stacks up compared to all those other figures. All right, that'll do it for the robot mode comparisons. So let's go ahead and get into those final thoughts. You know, I got to say that when I first opened this box and took the Legacy Deluxe class Arcee out, I had my doubts. I wasn't entirely bought off on this figure, but the good news is the more that I've played with her, the more that I've handled her, the more I appreciate her, and she has grown on me. So I think overall this is a pretty decent figure to add to the collection. But let's go ahead and dive into that a little bit, and we'll start as we always do with aesthetics, the overall look of the figure. And I will say right off the bat that I like the face sculpt on this figure. I like the way she looks in bot mode. I think everything there works except for these wheels on the side. You know, it's kind of a detraction. Not enough for me to really ding her as far as points go, but I like what the designers did and the engineers did with the Transformers Prime Arcee as we talked about in the comparisons, way better than what they've done here with the wheels on this bot. I think that they could have done a better job there, but overall looks, I think she looks really good. In the alt mode, she's a very convincing motorcycle, and I love the fact that you can put a blast effect on the end of that exhaust tip to make it look like there's flames coming out of that exhaust. So that's really cool. I'm going to give her an overall 8 out of 10 on aesthetics. Now, keep in mind, all of my scoring, this is done at the Deluxe class price point. So for a Deluxe class, I think she's pretty good as far as aesthetics go, and I'm giving her an 8 out of 10 there. Now, moving on to the articulation, again, for a Deluxe class, you're not going to find much better articulation than what you have on this figure right here. I mean, she's got great articulation everywhere. You know, the waist, there's a little bit of movement in that waist. It would have been nice if there was a little bit more, but there is enough there that you can get her posed. Really, from a wish list standpoint, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more articulation in those knees to get maybe a deeper than 90-degree bend, and then also have the ability to move those heels. You have the ability to move the toes back and forth or up and down, but it would have been nice to have had something in those heels as well. So for articulation, I'm going to give her a 9 out of 10. Moving on to accessories, I don't know what to say here. They look good, but from a practicality standpoint, I'm not entirely sure what I'm supposed to do with these. You know, I've in this configuration right now, she's got her, I'm going to call it her slingshot, her baseball pitching machine weapon in her left hand, and then her shield on her right forearm. And I dig the idea of being able to use those as shields and being able to split them and use those as energy blades. I just don't know what to do with that wheel. So I think ultimately, like I said earlier, I'm going to use the configuration where those wheels are back here behind her head, and then just have her holding her individual blades. I think she looks better there. But if you can stretch your imagination, whatever she's doing right here, yeah, you could probably make it work. So the accessories are all right. I just don't know what to do with them. And I really think that Hasbro and Takara missed the mark here by not making this blast effect compatible. I'm really dinging them for that because it's disappointing. In this day and age, they could have done something there where we could have thrown some blast effects on that and make it a little more exciting. So I'm giving her a 7 out of 10 on accessories. Moving on to quality, the overall quality. For the most part on this figure, the quality is there. I don't have any issues. All of the joints are tight. She came with everything that she was supposed to come with. Paint looks good. Molding looks good. There's really no issues there. My concern stems from long-term. That waist design is horrible. It's just held with a friction pin. It's going to give away. The more you fiddle with this figure, the more you transform her, the looser that's going to get, and eventually the only thing she's going to be able to do is a back bend, whether you like it or not. So I'm really disappointed in that waist design. So I'm going to ding her a little bit on the quality here, but it's not so much for initial quality out of the box. It's that long-term durability, that design for manufacture, that design intent kind of quality. So I'm going to give her an 8 out of 10 for overall quality. Everything's great. I just worry about that waist. Moving on to our last point, the overall value. Again, keeping in mind that this is for a deluxe class price point, I think that you do have a pretty good value here. This is a new mold. This is something that we've never seen before, and she looks good. You know, the transformation is actually fun on this figure. It's not complex by any means. It's probably a few extra steps than what it needed to be, but once you get used to it, it's actually really enjoyable. And I do like the modularity and the versatility, what you can do with the accessories, even though I don't know what to do with them. But I do like that you have many options on this figure, how you want to display her, what you want to have on her, and in what configuration. So that's really helpful as well. So overall value, I'm going to give her an 8 out of 10 for that. I picked this figure up for $23 US dollars in the wild at a Target in North America. So I'm going to give her that value of 8 out of 10. And that brings us to an overall total out of a possible 50 points. The Legacy Arcee gets 40 out of 50, which puts her right at 80%. So I'm going to recommend this figure. I think that for those of you who are collecting the Legacy figures, she's a worthy addition. She may be the weakest of this first wave between the Deluxe, Voyager, and Leader class, but I still think she's worth picking up, and I think you're going to enjoy her, and she looks great. She looks really good on the shelf, and ultimately, as we all know, most of us are going to put our figures in a pose and touch them maybe once a month, just enough to dust them. So with that, I'm going to end the review. I hope you guys got some good information out of this. I hope you were entertained, and if you haven't already done so, please be sure to hit that like button, be sure to subscribe, and feel free to leave some comments. Let us know what you think of the channel. So until we see you guys in the next review, take care.